Well, good morning, everyone. We are just a little bit late coming on, and we'll explain in a few minutes just why that is. Welcome to Being Your Own CEO Success Circle. And this morning we have a good crew. I think we've all been here before. So I'm going to dispense with talking about our ground rules and so forth. I think we all kind of, we're all here because we buy into them. So let's begin with what I never want to dispense with, and that is to give everyone an opportunity to introduce themselves, say what they do, and a little short announcement of anything that is new this week for them. So, Anna, you're on my extreme left-hand side, which means for viewers is probably on the right-hand side. So, good morning, Anna. Away you go.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Anna Fernandez, and I'm with medevacAnna.com, which is not live yet because obviously I'm still working on it. But I represent Travel Medevac. It's an air ambulance repatriation service membership plan, and I deal mostly with services for travelers, so medical, home insurance, all sorts of things like that. And I'm also an amateur website builder. My challenge this week is cloning. So hello, everyone.
Oh, welcome, Anna. Nice to have you here from Mexico.
Orale.
So next in line is Anne. We have Anna and we have Anne.
Yeah, so hi, Anne. I haven't talked to her for a while, I guess, since she went back to Mexico. My name is Anne DeVerta. My company is Visionary Business Solutions, and I provide bookkeeping and business management solutions for small businesses, and my specialty is construction companies.
Right on. And Anne and I spent a bunch of time online yesterday trying to figure out meetups and PayPal. So nice to have you back. We haven't seen you for a while, Anne. So nice to have you here. And the next person is Carlo, and Carlo has been among the missing for a little while. Welcome back.
Thank you. Yes. I'm Carlo Savio. I'm based out of Las Vegas, Nevada. I've been among the missing, as Lolan says, for a couple of weeks. I was working on putting together a financial funding package for a commercial project in Hermosillo, Mexico. And so what I do in my other time is I run a small digital marketing business here in Las Vegas, and I'm really pleased to be back in the group again.
Nice to have you back. I love the fact that we're spread all over the place. That's the wonderful thing about Hangouts, isn't it? So next is Craig, and you are muted, Craig.
Yes, I was. Well, speaking of distance, I'm outside of Rochester, New York, in a whole different time zone, and I have a small business that I take care of my other small businesses in the area and help them get online and get people coming in their doors.
Right on. And we might as well say Craig is helping me as a small business with my SEO. So, and
we'll talk about later.
Yeah, you're right. And I might just say that it was a conversation that I had with Craig last week that kind of generated the topic for this morning. So I don't know if you knew that, but that's where it came from. So thank you, Craig. And the next is Jay.
Oh, hi. My name is Jay. I'm broadcasting from the International Space Station, and I'm no, I'm in YYJ. I'm in Victoria, British Columbia, Canada. and my business is Affiliate Resources Inc. And I help people get started in the world of online marketing.
Right on. And we did mention this last time, but just in case we have a few more out there this week, Jay is going to be our presenter at Host, our local home office support team. It's a little networking group for solo entrepreneurs, and Jay is going to be the presenter this week. That's this week. Yeah.
I've already ironed out my Christmas sweater for the presentation.
Oh, cool. Thank you, Jay. And the next in line is Nathan. You're muted, Nathan.
I suddenly realized that. For some reason, I was looking at the film strip. I thought it was Roland. So anyway, I'm Nathan. Been in and around this group for a while, and part of Host from years back. I'm in Mexico, Ensenada. My thing has been freelance writing, and I'm making a transition into spiritual coaching. So that's what I'm about.
Thank you.
Getting used to doing Hangouts. Speaking of experimentation.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, no kidding.
And finally, last but not least, is Roland. Welcome back, Roland.
Thank you. And I'm an internet marketer focusing on web design, social media, and YouTube. And I have a show called Saturday Morning Marketing Smarties, which is a lot of fun, and I'm having a good time with that. I'm also going to start a new program in January called What is the Positive? And it's going to be a very interesting thing. Trying to recruit the attentions of Jeremy Murphy, who is doing the Positivity Patrol on Blab, and we'll see what happens. My news for the month is that I'm being asked to be a potential candidate for 2 different blog casts or radio shows in the next couple of months, and I'm just like stunned by the opportunity. So it's kind of exciting.
Oh, nice! Congrats.
Thank you.
Right on. And I have what you didn't mention. You had your year's anniversary last Saturday.
Yes.
Yeah. And there were lots of people who came and went. I think, Nathan, you were there. I was there, but my system just completely blew it for me. So I never did. I think I dropped in for about 2 seconds and then out again.
Yeah, you were like a ghost. You came and went and were just silent.
Oh, I don't know what was going on. Oh, yes, I do know what was going on. All of a sudden, Windows was downloading something, and it just took over my whole system.
It will do that, yes.
Oh, I hate that.
Very pleased that you were able to at least come to the show and contribute to us. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it was lovely. It's just lovely to realize that. I mean, just how fast time goes by, eh, Roland? I mean, we've all been, we dove in here as newbies trying to figure out what the heck we were doing, and eventually we get so we know a little bit about what we're doing. Not all of it, I guess, because everything keeps changing.
Agreed.
Yeah. So I might just say that I do work style lifestyle coaching. I help solo entrepreneurs, solopreneurs as I like to call them, find direction, stay focused and motivated, and build systems that make their life a little bit easier. And I do this success circle every week, and I also have a 3-part beginners Google for Business training program that I do locally, but also I'm going to be doing that online as much as possible in the near future. So, and I might also say that I don't know whether it was the right thing to do, but just going back to our Host, our little home office support team group that some of us belong to. We had an AGM here not long ago, and I've become the program a coordinator, finding people, good people like Jay to come and speak. And we might also recognize that Anne has become the treasurer, and she's knowledgeable and will be taking care of all the financial things. So I don't know about you, Anne, but sometimes you wonder why what possessed you to take on yet another thing.
No dipping in the cookie jar, Anne.
Yeah, you know what? Host doesn't have enough money to tempt me.
No. We run a pretty tight ship there. So
yeah, but it's a great group.
Yeah, so so we're all looking forward to the coming year. So now I just want to, for the sake of those who are outside watching, and an apology for our taking some time to go live. We were all in the green room, and we did a little bit of a tutorial so that all of us know where to go and put comments and how to bring them up and so forth. So that's what we were doing, and that I guess from the perspective of today's topic, and that is the value of experimentation. So we were all experimenting, and I see that as one of the values of having a group like this, that people can come in and play around and figure out and find out what it feels like and how it works and all of that, without so that it's a safe place to come in without people criticizing or being judgmental in any way. So that's what we're about. So I might just circle back to the conversation that Craig and I had last week, where we were kind of talking about maybe creating a test site for my website where you can go in and play around and try things out. So that got me thinking about the whole concept of experimentation. And I did a little bit of research while I was preparing. Not a whole lot, but so if we think about experimentation from a business perspective, I mean, there are a lot of really good reasons to try to do that. And the whole idea is to try out something on the small scale, so that we don't have to make a huge investment to try out and see whether things will work. So often we have an idea and we're not sure if it'll work. We want to test it out, and that seems to be a really good idea, particularly when we're speaking about online. But I honestly believe this can also apply to non-online activities as well. A couple of things that we know, and this is about continuously learning and growing, isn't it? That as we experiment, we find out what works and what doesn't work, and we move on. And so, of course, in that process, there are going to be lots of things that we discard. We try something and we find out that it doesn't work, or it doesn't bring about the results that we had hoped that it would. So it's all about, within the business context, I think, it's about that marketing, research, and development, going out there and trying to find out what works for our target client. So, and we often have lots of assumptions, and it's a way to test our assumptions. So then I found an article that talked about the benefits and the challenges that I thought were worthy of mention. We already mentioned the possibility of saving money, trying something on the small scale so that we don't have to invest too much time or money. Confirming customer reactions, that's really very valuable to be able to do that. And another benefit is that you can pursue more than one experiment at a time. Challenges, and I thought that these were kind of interesting. Interpreting the results can sometimes be difficult, and especially if we don't have really, if we haven't identified specific measures to determine what the results are. So that points to that need to make sure that we know exactly what success will look like before we carry on. Deciding when to pull the plug. Apparently that can also be very difficult. How long do you give it? And when do you decide? And it, I guess if it's our own idea, sometimes we can be kind of emotionally invested in that idea, and so therefore we don't want to let go of it. So that can certainly be a challenge. The last one that I thought was really interesting was deciding whether the positive results that you see are sufficient enough to warrant adopting it. Sometimes you can get a positive result, but maybe it isn't wide enough. So and then some of the little ideas, things to carry away was embrace failures, and we must know what success looks like ahead of time, and we must create a measuring. So I throw out to all of our participants here, how do you feel about experimentation and testing, and who in the group has actually done it? I must say right away, I think we've all unofficially, as we evolve, our businesses evolve, we have probably done it on a very informal basis, but how many of you have done it on a more formal basis?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah, so
Me too.
talk about that a little bit, Jay.
A lot on my end.
Yeah.
So in the internet marketing world, there's something called A/B split testing, which is basically experimenting two things. So it could be two specific web pages. It could be two specific call to action, like phrases at the bottom, that are randomly shown up upon when your traffic visits your page. And data is collected in terms of how many people have seen that versus how many people have clicked it or converted or done what you want them to do. And it's a wonderful way to experiment different ways within your content and within your funnel to see which one works better. And one of the great things about it is that it's such a low barrier. It creates such a low dent in terms of interrupting your normal flow of marketing that it's just a really wonderful way to do these types of experiments without running the risk of you completely losing out on commission, sales, conversions, whatever it is that you want people to do. In fact, I'm actually doing a webinar this Friday specifically on how to do these things. So it's and if you run a WordPress website, there's actually a plethora of free tools, free plugins that you can use to do these tests out, right? It's called conversion optimization, A/B split testing, and it's literally just taking two separate pieces of whatever and randomly testing each one on a random audience and see what works and what doesn't, and testing can be something as mundane as changing the word changing the word from learn more to find out more. And that's actually one that I recently did, where I experimented changing the word learn more with read more, or find out more. And can you guys guess which one was the winner? Was it learn more or find out more?
I would guess it's find out.
It was find out. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It was actually quite interesting, and I had learned that from someone else that had tested it out. So, oh, what the hell? I'll try it out too. Yeah, and so apparently, I guess we don't want to learn. We just want to find out things. So, from a psychological standpoint. So.
Well, and I also wonder if I mean the language we use. I remember years ago in my government days, we used to have to test out any of our public notifications on sort of a reading level.
Yeah.
And so find out would be considered at a lower reading level than learn.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, that's a really good observation for us to realize that, and if you're looking at the total world population that's on the internet, and we're also looking at people who are dealing with the second language often. The lower the reading level that we use, the more effective it's going to be.
Yeah. Well, I think it also depends on your audience too. I mean, if you're running a brain surgeon community,
yeah, for sure,
you probably won't be using the word "dude" too often, right?
I find that I'm running into that quite a bit, where I have an audience that is very sophisticated and dealing with a disease. And the presenters and the technology that they need to understand to deal at that level is much higher than an 8th grade level, if you will.
Yeah, you should invite them into your wooden box. Come to the trust tree. Come to the trust tree.
I do that every day.
It's a thing too with for my demographics. Some people get their backs up if you call them seniors, or use the word retire, because a lot of us are not really retired. We always imagine our grandparents and the whole age thing. So we're trying to come up with words where I can get my market without insulting anybody. It's really difficult. I came up with a new one with the help of a friend called the previously young. A little softer. But it is.
I think you can please some of the people some of the time, but you can't please everyone all the time. So it's like what works the best, and then just roll with it.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Nate.
Well, what you guys are talking about is copywriting, and Jay knows about this as well. But one of the things I have here is a course by John Carlton, who's a well-known copywriter, Simple Writing System. And among other things is a couple of short reports, one to do with power words and another to do with power phrases. And there was one that I used a while back on my blog, which was how to eliminate your anxiety and depression faster than you ever dreamed possible. You can imagine the response I got with that, and it was quite huge. And there were other ones that I tested, different headlines. And the copywriting headlines where I would use some of these power words would really generate a very positive response, as opposed to some of the simpler ones that I would use, like how to get over something in 5 minutes or something like that. Those were considerably less effective. And like Jay was saying with the A/B testing, that's a really great way of finding out how people respond. And in copywriting, a lot of these guys, they'll do like an A/B test to find out which one is the most popular, and then they'll try another test to see if they can beat it. They'll create what they call a control piece, which seems to be the one that pulls the most responses, and then they'll use multiple variations to test against it to see if they can beat it.
That's and of course that's really I mean it's what we all should be doing in terms of our whole business. Try something, then try and see if we can beat it. That's what we're doing. Right.
Well, it can be really useful within WordPress, for example. You can track over a period of time, like if you install, I believe it's Jetpack, or even Google Analytics, it will start to track and tell you what your most popular keywords are, as well as some of the, at least within Jetpack, will tell you what your most popular titles are. And you start to find out very quickly how people are responding to what you're writing. And that gives you really valuable feedback, so you can take that and write more of the same if you choose to.
I just wanted to elaborate what Nathan was saying about Google Analytics. The tool that I think Nathan is getting at is called Google Webmaster Tools. And what Google Webmaster Tools gives you, it gives you a list of keywords that people have actually used on Google that have searched, and how many times your listing in Google has shown up versus how many have actually clicked on your listing. So it's a really good, I like to call it a sniff test, like wine. A really good sniff test to see, A, what people are searching for, B, how many times you're being clicked on, to your actual website. And it's a really good way to understand your audience, because you might be targeting one keyword to try to rank for, but then when you go and check your Google Webmaster Tools, it's something completely different, right? So it's like, oh, okay, well, I'm glad to know that. Thank you, Google,
Yeah, there's another tool out there that I've been using, well, actually a couple. One is the Moz plugin, which you can put into Google, and you can test different keyword things to see what it brings up, and it'll bring up a list. And then you will see all sorts of information about each site that it brings up, and you can look at the information to find out which one is ranking better than another. There's another thing that I've been using. It's a site called BuzzSumo, and you can go there and plug in a whole bunch of keywords, and then it will pop up all sorts of listings, and you can see which ones are getting the most shares and traffic and so on. Also really, really useful. Very powerful.
And okay, so Moz, M-O-Z?
M-O-Z, yeah.
Yeah.
Or Z if we're in the States.
Here's another item that Jay posted in the comment tracker.
Yep. Cool.
Yeah. So yeah, so I mean we're really talking about all our websites and finding the right kind of language, etc., etc. And by the way, well, before I forget, Nathan, I mean those power words and power phrasings that you gave examples of.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost how to incorporate emotion into those titles.
Absolutely.
Because I think it's emotion that attracts people.
Actually, it's verbs, action words. That was part of what's being hammered into us in terms of copywriting. The action words are what really tend to get people motivated. There are tons of different things that you can do in copywriting. That's one of many examples.
Mm-hmm.
It's a real science.
It's not only, experimentation, I think, is ideal for not only attracting customers, but also experimentation with the whole cycle, the whole customer funnel cycle, I think, is extremely important, right? Because, you want to be able to test out what works and what doesn't while you have a client, right? And also post-client, right? So what happens, so post-client, what do? Do you send them a thank you card, or do you send them wine, or do you send them anything? These types of things really going to help you with your whole customer cycle, right? So
yeah,
that's a really, really good point.
Actually, one other thing to do with that, like the idea of thank you cards, it's a multi-level thing. However, it is a good service called Send Out Cards, where you can do customized cards. And I used it for a while. Very impressed with it. Not as a multi-level product, because I'm not necessarily into those different things, but the system and the personalization, you can literally use it to create your own font based on the way that you write, and load that up and then use it to create cards. It's really cool. Very cool what you can do, and very nice personalized cards that you can do, and it's not that expensive.
I've used that service in the past.
Cool.
However, I've not used it for a while because I discovered that for the most part it's very difficult to find a mailing address of people. Business cards rarely have today rarely have an address. And if you go to a lot of websites, again, very rare, unless you've got a storefront, very rarely do you see anybody's address.
I've got a tool for that.
Oh,
one?
do you?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a tool I built, actually. So it actually what it does is it tracks businesses' citations. So what a citation is, it's web mentions of people's businesses on the internet. So a web mention or a citation can range from business name, address, phone number. Probably one of the easiest ways to find a business's address is on Google+, because if they have a verified Google+ listing, it'll have their mailing address on it.
Very cool. Nice to know that.
Yeah.
May I suggest
Yes.
that by not having your contact data on your site, you lose credibility for a small amount in SEO. Google Index feels if things like that are insignificant, then you're insignificant.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more, Carlo, and not just from a Google perspective, but I mean in terms of wanting to connect with people or to find a service or whatever. You go to a website and there's all that information is not there and right up front. I lose confidence.
Absolutely.
I begin to think of it as a sort of a fly-by-night.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's why I invite you to look at schema.org for coding in whatever your website of choice is, coding in your contact data so that the search indexes pick it up.
Schema,
schema.org.
Yeah.
So what it does is it helps you put in extra little bits of web code when you type in when you have your address on your website, and it lets Google know, oh, this is the address, and it's using something called item crop, and so it just lets them know, oh, this is the telephone number, oh, this is my web address,
Wow.
or sorry, my physical address, right? And there's actually a number of tools that kind of work with schema. I'll find a tool that can help you generate that code here. Just give me a second.
Okay, right on.
There's another thing to consider when you're putting all this stuff up, especially your email address. It's really important to be careful with that, because if you actually publish your email address on the site, you can have a problem with bots scraping your address and getting spam. And so there's some different tools out there. I wound up writing an article for Windows Secrets magazine, and one of the things that you can do is you can use either JavaScript or some sort of hexadecimal code that will scramble your email address so that it looks fine on the screen, but it is actually code behind the scenes, and bots can't scrape it, and you won't get spammed from your own site. So it's really important.
It's that's all these little tricks are really, really important. So so I don't want us to totally focus on online experimentation, because I think that there are other ways of experimenting in terms of our business. And Jay, you kind of alluded to that when. Well, experimenting with follow-up, for example, with a client, etc. And so, Anne, what about you? I haven't heard from you. Have you tried any experimentation in your world, your financial world?
We see. I'm in a little bit different situation, which we've run into lots of times when I'm on here, because I'm not looking for loads of clients. So my website's not as important. I'm not doing lots of stuff there. But I mean, just moving to Victoria was an experiment, because I didn't know if I could get clients or not when I came over here. And one of the things that's just happened recently is the software that I use most of the time for bookkeeping has just come out with a new sort of add-on that allows me to provide additional reports to my clients, and they gave me all the information on it, and I sort of thought to myself, no, I don't think I'm going to do this. And I thought the other day, no, you know what? I need to ask my clients. I need to just ask them, is this something you're interested in? So sometimes it's as simple as that, as saying, maybe I should try something new, because I thought, wow, what if another bookkeeper approached one of my clients and said, hey, I use that same program and I have all these extra reports I could be giving you. And they thought, wow, how come Anne's never told me about that?
Right.
That I need to, I need to do that. The simplest experiment is just sometimes to ask.
Oh, what a good basic reminder, Anne. Just ask. Oh my goodness. Well,
Anne, excuse me, Anne, can we get that in needlepoint?
No.
Yeah, asking, I mean, it's part of our whole research and development, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I might mention as something that it wasn't a formal experimentation, but as I look back over it, it certainly was. So when I took up coaching a lot of years ago, one of the ways that we helped people decide whether they wanted to hire us was to offer a free coaching session. And you would give a demonstration, and as part of that whole, usually an hour, you'd use half of that, or at least I did. I used half of that time to actually do a coaching session, and then the other half to answer questions about my service and answer questions about fees or whatever. And then at the end, you would ask, what would you like to do next? Well, and that worked for a long time, and it worked extremely well until the population caught on to that. And then what started to happen is that you became very much aware that people were going from one complimentary session to another to get free coaching. And I became very much aware that people were not. They came without any motivation other than to get free coaching. So then I had to come up with a slightly different approach that would help to get what I do and out before people. So I mean, things happen out there within the markets that we use that cause us to have to sort of problem solve and move on and try something different. And I mean, the changes that happen, I mean, we've been talking about the changes that happen online, but I mean, economies change, the markets changed and if competitors go out there and do something, sometimes that can change your market. So on an informal basis, I think as a business people, we are always in experimentation mode. Anybody have any comments about that?
Yeah, I can't, I mean, I think most success happens by accident, right? Or by experimentation. So, working with what works and we're leveraging what works and I mean, I hate to be going back to the online world, but that's what I do, right? So, I mean, the online world, especially with search engine marketing and SEO, is really about experimentation. All right, well, this works. Let's leverage this. Oh, this one didn't work. So, because, I mean, as much as Google does hand you a great deal of information as to what they would like to see us do for our websites and off our websites to try to get inside their search engines and get ranked on the first page, which is the ultimate goal, right? But they don't give you a step-by-step, and they don't say, well, we actually factor in this one. This tactic that you want to do it the most, right? They don't let us know. So by experimentation and doing the things what we think work, that's essentially how we rank websites, So and it's an always changing situation, when it comes to the online world. So yeah, absolutely.
Which is what makes it so exciting and interesting to work in.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's times that you want to bang your head on the wall, but there's also many times you're raising your hands in success, especially when you have a client ranked on the first page, outranking other authority-based sites. So
absolutely. Now I want to post up on the screen so our viewers can see what Jay just posted here. Schema Creator helps generate code for your address on your website. So there it is. And thank you for posting that.
Let me dovetail off of something let me dovetail off of what Jay was speaking about. The segue back and forth between the online world and the offline world. I've worked for several hundred small businesses over my career, and I've come to realize early on that most small businesses are a distinct representation of the owner's personality. So there are things that the owner will do and the things that the owner will not do. And that's where you come back and forth into, as Jay was saying, leveraging and experimentation. Because without the old axiom, without clearly defined goals, our only motivation is survival. So when a client comes and says, I want a website, and you say, well, what do you want it to do? I don't know, but I just want to have a website. And it just sits there, okay? So anyway, so they actually go hand in glove in the sense that I was listening to a guy a few weeks back, and they said, aren't you afraid someone's going to steal that idea? He said, no, my work is protected by the sheer weight of human energy. And that is to say, there are things that each one of us will do in our own business, our own practice, that maybe the guy or gal down the street won't.
I think you froze.
Okay. It's actually warmer here. I think it's.
Oh, sorry.
No, that was God's way of saying. That was God's way of saying forget it.
Well, you know what? To piggyback off of what Carlos was saying is, I could personally sum up clients in 3 different categories, right? One is the DIY client, right? The do it, teach me how to do it yourself, right? Then you have the DIWM, which is the do it with me category. That's the client that hovers over the hood of the car while you're trying to fix it, right? I see you tweak the flux capacitor there, and so you have that client. You have the do it with me client, and then you have the DIFM client. You have the do it for me. So do it yourself, do it with me, and do it for me. So those are the 3 categories I can sum up clients. And those 3 clients you can really segment in terms of the business that they run. So, the DIYs are typically the small business or a home-based business where they want to just learn how to do it themselves, right? So give them the information, offer support if they ask questions, and then they're good to go, right? The DIWM are the people who are maybe the little bit next level, but they're control freaks, and they want to have you do it, but they want to learn what it is that you're doing along the way, right? And those are, those are great clients, right? So, and those are usually clients that end up becoming recurring clients, And then the DIFM, which are the, here's my money, here's my site, here's all my logins, go. Call me when it's ranked. Now, obviously, ideal, those are the best clients that we want, depending on the business that you want. I'm sure, amongst all of these people, I think Anne would love the DIFM client, where they go like, here, as opposed to the one hovering over the ledger going, that's not right. I can't write that off. My dog food? I can't write off my dog food?
You know what?
My dog is security for my home.
Exactly that to me the other day. He was like, so yeah, I want to deduct the cost of purchasing my dog and my dog's food, because my friend down the road told me I could do that. And I said, well, your friend down the road doesn't know what he's talking about. But you know what? It's true, Nathan. I have those 3 types of clients too, and they all have different needs. And in some ways, yeah, do it for me. I'm going to do the most business with them.
Yeah.
But everybody has different needs, and I'm totally willing to work with the other kinds as well. And I find that some people, they really want to understand how does this work. But in the end, I find a lot of those, what was your middle one? The do it for me while I watch kind of people. They often end up wanting me to do it all for them.
Yeah.
But they want an understanding.
And that's I was segueing into this point where you need to I need to experiment with each of these different types of clientele so that I can accomplish the goals, because there's challenges with each one, right? So I experiment trying different things with them, and it's usually just verbal experiments, like okay, well, do you want to do this in this phase, and do you want to do it, one lump sum, and I keep track of that information so that I know for when I encounter another client, my next client, we put them in that category. So, okay, well, the last one, they liked it doing it this way, so I'm just going to keep rolling with that one and maybe make little tweaks. So it's always important to experiment with those 3 different categories. So do it DIY, do it yourself, do it with me, and do it for me.
Well, but Jay, when you look at the coaching world, there's no do it for me. It's mostly do it with me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Although, I mean, there may be some clients that just want to find out how to do it so they can do it themselves. So, but the last one doesn't apply. So, it depends on the kind of business you're in.
Yeah.
I'll bet, Lolan, though, that at times, oops, am I muted? No. At times you've had people come to you for coaching, and they hoped that you could do it for them.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's, and then you have to kind of be like, no, it doesn't work like that.
Well, and so the experimentation for me, when I did my executive coaching training years ago, it was always said that you had to separate the concept of consulting and coaching. Consultants tell you what to do, how to do it, and sometimes will hold your hand as you're doing it. And coaches are usually just being the listener and the person who's asking all the right questions. And in my experience, I discovered that there were people that wanted both. So that's what I've ended up doing, is both. So there are times when it's just asking the right questions, but there are also times when, well, here's a model, let's work on it together. So, and I wouldn't be surprised if many other coaches have kind of discovered that as well. So yeah, it is a process of experimentation and what works. I'm conscious of Anna. I'm really kind of interested in your issue that you raised a little while ago, because it was an issue for me, exactly that, because I tried, here we were experimenting, myself and a couple of other people thought we would do some employment counseling using video for people over 50. And when we were trying to when I did my SEO research, trying to find out what are the words that you can use, I found the same thing that you talked about. I don't want to be referred to as a senior anymore. I'm not retired, etc., etc. So that was the emotional thing that was going on with people. But at the same time, when you did your research online, those were the terms. And if you put the new ideas in there, nobody knew them. So the question is, how on earth do I coin a new language and get it out there enough so that people will search on it?
Exactly. What I found out recently, too, was I did some research on the word Zoomer, which was supposed to take the place of the baby boomers, the boomer word,
Yeah.
in order for it to mean an active boomer. So
Yeah.
like us, we're still working, we're still go. We're not, we are boomers, but we're much more active. We're not retired and that sort of thing. So Zoomers to me sounded like, oh, that's a great word. I really like it. Well, I did a little bit of Googling and research and stuff, and I came to find that Zoomer is associated more when you do an analytics or whatever that's called, that system's called, to this kind of motorcycle thing that the young people are using. Nothing to do with what I thought. So out the window goes the Zoomer thing.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think creating new lingo for our demographics, it will take a lot of work to transition over to that. So I think when you're doing like I don't totally understand the world of SEO, but when you're doing SEO words to your site and stuff, you'd have to include retiring, seniors, mature, all those standard stereotypical words. And then maybe start incorporating previously young, for example, or other things you might come up with for your demographics. But you really can't get away from the most used thing. And by creating, like there's a magazine out called the Zoomer Magazine. And I thought, well, that's great, it's addressing our type of people. But when I researched it more, it was coming out on Instagram, for example. You put in Zoomer, and all you get are these kind of motorcycles, these young people, not one older person to be seen anywhere. So,
Right.
there you go.
So, we're looking at the ultimate experimentation, aren't we?
It's a long-term thing. You need to create an association between the terms that you're using and the terms that you want to use. And it's not something that happens overnight. It's something that has to be created as an association, first in people's minds, and then Google will catch on. So, but it's not going to happen overnight. It has to be
very true.
a long-term.
Anna, how about contemporary thinking for used people?
I don't know. Used sounds. I don't know.
I love it.
Or maybe well used.
I don't know.
Some more than others, yes.
Well, now I'm looking at the time, and we've already had a couple of people drop away. Jay said he had a commitment, and so did Nathan. But before we stop our recording, I want to share Jay's 3 client levels, just to make sure that it's within the recording for our viewers. And the other item that Jay shared before he left was ultimate list of words that convert. So there's another resource for people. So thank you, Jay, even though you're not here right now. So I think it's time for us to draw to a close. We are just at an hour, and it's time to wrap up our Being Your Own CEO community for this week. And for those who are interested, you must know that we meet at the same time, roughly the same time, every week. And we are here to specifically assist solo entrepreneurs in becoming more comfortable with the whole online and to share information. So for this week, I will say so long for now, and thanks for being with us.
Goodbye.
And thanks to everyone for being here.